Hey, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Enhancing the Human Experience. On today's show, I'm going to share with you what I feel is a really practical way to help you live in the end. If you listen to the podcast at all, you know that I actually say that too much. That's the Neville Goddard famous quote and famous suggestion. Live in the end. Put yourself into the experiences and circumstances you want to have using your imagination. And I'm going to share with you a really simple way to do that you can put in your bag of tricks and use to create the experiences that you want to have in life. Before we get into the main part of the show, though, I have a couple of announcements, and the first of which is, yes, I do know that it is springtime, and yes, I do know that I said my new project, which I've called It, will be ready in the spring, and it's coming very quickly. I'm working on it almost every day, fine-tuning it, adding things to it, taking things away, making sure it's going to be a really helpful tool for you to help you create the experiences and dreams that you want to have, to help you make your dream a reality. That, I know the name is kind of strange and it doesn't really flow off the tongue very easily, and I know there are other products and other books that are called It out there, and they have nothing to do with this It, but what it is essentially is it's your dream, it's your goal, it's your vision. It is the experience that you want to have. It's the things you want to do. It's the person you want to be, and it's everything. It really is everything that you want to have in life, and it's ultimately a focusing tool, and it's a manifestation tool and a creation tool, because if there's one thing that we know as human beings is that, our focus has a tendency to get scattered, doesn't it? And I think one of the primary tasks that we have in front of us is to rein our focus in, bring our focus in, and keep focused on the things and experiences that we want to have in life. And that is exactly what this tool is designed to do. I'm very excited for it, as you can probably tell, and it is coming very quickly. So we're still in the kind of the midst of spring, and so it is going to be here this spring. It's on the front burner. I'm working on it like every day, like I said. So that is coming, so stay tuned for that. You can check out the movie trailer, the book trailer for it at whatisyourit.com. whatisyourit.com. Or you can also stay up to date if you follow me on any of my social media, at GMarkPhillips. I'll always be posting stuff on there. And of course, when it's announced, I'll be super thrilled to share it with you, and you can check it out once it's all done. It's going to be available in PDF, which will be, something you can read, but I'm also putting an audio version together, which if you don't want to read anything, you don't have to read anything, because I don't know if you're like me. I'm not a huge fan of reading big volumes and lots of stuff. I'd much rather listen to it. So for those of you out there that are like me, I always create an audio version of my books, and this is going to be no exception. And I'm going to be doing some new things to make it easier to digest the information and to listen to what you want when you want. So I'm always looking at these new ways to help people get the information quicker and easier, and make it more handy, quite frankly, make the tool more usable. So that's what's coming down the road. The other thing I want to mention is, if you haven't checked out Enhancing the Human Experience online store, you can do that at ETHXstore.com. And my goal behind all the products and apparel in the store is to help you remember how to create, how to manifest, how to be the cosmic creator that you are, that we all are, right? Putting these messages on shirts and mugs and other objects and other types of apparel, really reminders of our ability to create infinite experiences. And again, back to that focusing idea, sharing lots of quotes from metaphysical masters and spiritual gurus, yogis. I posted some of the pictures on my Instagram page at GMarkPhillips. One of my favorite, one of the first shirts that I ordered was All Power is Within You, which is part of the Swami Vivekananda quote. And if you follow me for any length of time, you know that I'm a huge fan of Swami Vivekananda and Paramahansa Yogananda. And those are the kind of things that you can find on there. I have some Neville Goddard quotes on the mugs, Wayne Dyer quotes, Who else have I got in there? Just a whole bunch of different quotes and helpful reminders and sayings and ideas that we all need to remember on a daily basis so that we don't forget what we really are and what we're really capable of doing. So that is Enhancing Human Experience online store. More products are coming down the road. I have more products are going to be in the store than are already in the store. Let's just put it that way. I have pages of things that have come to me here and there that I want to get on these products and apparel. And I'll also be ordering new stuff on a continual basis and sharing with you those pictures on my Instagram page at gmarkphillips. So I'm really excited about that and look for more stuff to come down the road. Last but not least, I want to let you know that if you are interested, you could subscribe to my YouTube channel or just go check it out, which is youtube.com/gmarkphillips. And one of the recent additions, one of the recent 4 videos that I added was the other day I went down to the park and I filmed all of my books, all the print versions. So I thumbed through each of those books and filmed it. As you are aware, if you're familiar with at least a couple of the books, the children's books, The Magic of Being Book 1 and Book 2, they're very short. So those videos are probably just, I think they're like a minute and a half long, minute and 25 seconds-ish. But I thumbed through all those books so you can get a sense of what's in them and to share that with you. That's available on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/gmarkphillips. And I always put stuff up there that I don't necessarily share on the podcast or that I don't share on my social media. Just if it's something that I think would be beneficial on YouTube and it's more appropriate to be a video, I just throw it up on YouTube. So you can go check out my stuff there if that's something you're interested in. All right, let's get into this notion of one simple way that you can live in the end and put your consciousness, your thinking, and your feeling on the experience that you want to have. Ultimately, what you want to be, what you want to do, and what you want to have. Because one thing that I'm really passionate about is actually sharing practical how-tos of how to do these things, right? We all know what we need to do. That's why I feel that what's really important is to share practical applications of that knowledge. If we just have the knowledge, sometimes there can be a gap between the knowledge and what we want. Like, how do we bridge that gap? And this is one way to do that. And this question is very simple and can help you do that. And what it is, in order to help you live in the end, one of the powerful questions that I like to think about all the time is, how will I feel when? And then you fill in the blank with whatever you want to be, do, and have is actually part of your experience. So that is, how will I feel when I am this way, or I do these things, or I have these things? That will help put you in that end experience and helps us live in the end from a consciousness standpoint, right? And put our psychic energy on the end. Because one thing we know is that if we continually stay where we're at, whereas we're continually thinking about where we're at, and our consciousness is on who we are, or what we have, or what we're doing, that's where we're going to stay. There's no movement then, right? There's no goal. We haven't put our mind on the goal, what we want. And then in that case, we're not moving toward our goal, right? We can move in any direction. We can move toward our goal, or we can stay where we're at. It's just where are we thinking about? Where is our consciousness? Where is our state of being, right? Wherever we ground ourselves, that's where we're going to move to in this like multi-dimensional universe. And where we will draw those experiences to ourselves. We will have serendipitous chance encounters with people. Ideas will come to us, but we have to create that feeling and that idea in our consciousness first. This is what all of the manifestation gurus are talking about. This is what Wayne Dyer's talking about when he said that we need to continually contemplate ourselves as being surrounded by the conditions we wish to produce. Of course, that's what Neville Goddard talks about when he says, live in the end and feeling is the secret. When we're asking ourselves that question, how will I feel when I am this, when I'm doing this, and when I have this? That's what we want. That's going to create the feeling, and it's going to keep us grounded in that. It's really a focusing tool, like a lot of the things that we talk about here on the show, focusing tools to help us focus our consciousness and our feeling nature on the experiences we want to have. And that's what bridges that gap, doesn't it? Like I say, all of the gurus talk about this. Joseph Murphy talked about it when he said talked about his inverse law of transformation. And he said, if the experience or the circumstance will produce a certain feeling inside of yourself, he talked about it as a feeling of elation, right? Will produce that feeling inside of yourself, then the inverse law of transformation is that if you produce that feeling inside of yourself, the elation, the happiness, the joy, the bliss, the ecstatic feeling, then you will produce that experience or those conditions. And so they work in tandem, right? That's what all of the information that we ever read about manifestation and creating the experiences we want to have in life talks about, is that we've got to get to that place of feeling. We've got to cultivate the consciousness, cultivate the thoughts that will then cause us to feel in certain ways, and those experiences will appear for us. We don't know how, we don't need to know how necessarily for that to happen, but I know you've already experienced this in your own life. We all have, right? We all do that. Sometimes we just don't know that we've done that. We don't connect the dots to how we have drawn the experiences to us. As we move on in life and as our conscious awareness expands, we start to see how we're doing that, right? And that's the beauty of being human, is that when you start to be aware of how you're creating your experiences, that's like learning to drive, right? You can start to steer toward experiences that you want, and you can start to move in the direction of things that you want. It's when we're unconscious of that process, that's when life really kind of sucks, because we think that it's totally random and that we're not in control when we really are in control. But we haven't, for the most part, we're not taught how to use this creating mechanism, right? Our imagination, our creating with our feelings. And that's a little bit of a travesty in my opinion, but we're getting better, right? It's always improving. In many ways, I've thought that this is the kind of knowledge we should be teaching children in addition to worldly knowledge, right? This is where some entities in our world, some educational institutions, they do teach this stuff, right? They teach the world knowledge, the race mind knowledge, but they also teach the spiritual metaphysical knowledge, which is what we really ultimately need, right? We need both. One of them has been lacking historically, but we're getting better with that. We're fixing that. Everything's constantly improving. So I really find that question to be really, really helpful in helping us to create that feeling inside of ourselves. And I even love to write it down on 3x5 cards, carry them with me, because again, back to the nature of the mind and consciousness, it's always wanting to kind of get scattered and disperse and be somewhat chaotic, right? The universe is always tending, it's this cycle of creation, destruction, or tending toward chaos and order. It's this revolving cycle. And one of the things that I think about quite often is this notion of be renewed by the renewing of your mind. It can also be thought of be renewed by the renewing of your body or of your spirit. But one thing we have to do is renew ourselves on a daily basis. Refocus, realign, bring back to our place of center, right? Because throughout the day, we have a tendency to kind of get dispersed or get off center or lose focus. This is where meditation comes in and is really helpful to ground us back, right? Take us back to that point of being aware of what we are, who we are, connecting with our infiniteness, with our boundlessness, and regrounding us, refocusing us. And so that question of be renewed by the renewing of your mind, renewing your goals, renewing your objectives, renewing the person you want to be, the things you want to do, and the experiences that you want to have on a daily basis is so vital. Otherwise, we drift, right? What do we know about a ship? We kind of are like a ship, right? We're a vessel sailing on the cosmic ocean in the universe, and if we don't have a port, if we don't have a goal, we just drift to whatever way the prevailing winds are blowing. And then sometimes we wonder, well, how did I get here? Well, it's because you didn't set your port, right? I'm super guilty of this for sure. And that's what we want to try to avoid. The other challenge, and again, guilty of this one as well, historically, is staying in one port for too long and not setting out for a new horizon, right? In addition to setting a goal for a port, we got to actually set a goal for a new port after we reach that port. Because if we don't, we'll become stagnant, and that's not really where the fun is and what we're here to do. Constantly appreciating the port that we're in, having huge gratitude for realizing that port, and then moving toward a new port. And to that point, one of the things that I want to mention about this, in addition to this tool, this how will I feel when, one of the other ways that can help to help you realize that you are the cosmic creator, that you can do it, because sometimes it can seem a little bit daunting. Sometimes we can lose faith, lose hope in the process, is to look around at the experiences that you have already created, either that you're living now or that you have created in the past. Look at the person you are now compared to the person you were 10, 15, 20 years ago. Look at the things you're doing now compared to the things you were doing 10, 15, 20 years ago. So my point is to renew the faith and renew the belief that the process does work, because sometimes when you're narrowly focused and we have this kind of a micro view of it, it may appear that it isn't working. One way to know that it's working is to realize the person you are, the things you do, and the things you have now were all at one point in time just an idea or an imagination or a goal, something that was very far outside of your reality, your realization, and haven't been realized yet. And at one time, you wanted those things just as bad as you want the things that are in your pipeline that you haven't realized yet. And so I think sometimes it's really important to remind ourselves that the person we are, the things that we're doing, and the experiences that we're having now were once on our vision boards, on our dream boards, on our goal lists. And when we really realize that and really get into that, everything's going to change and shift, because it's going to be a huge eye-opener to the fact that, wow, the process really does work. It's being aware that it does work and appreciating the fact that it does work. So I really find that can help in conjunction with this idea, this focusing sentence. How will I feel when I am blank, I do blank, I have blank? And you fill in the blank for whatever you want. And then also realizing and recognizing that the experiences you're having now, the things you're doing now, and the person you are now were once on your goal list, on your vision board, on your dream board. Hugely, let's say humbling, let's say, huge appreciation can be garnered from that. Because isn't it funny how life is, we get so busy and so focused on the doing stuff and the making it happen, and we forget to step back and have that moment of like extreme gratitude and extreme appreciation for actually being able to make it happen, right? And actually being a part of the whole play. We get so focused on the where we're going and actually doing. I'm super guilty of this, is I sometimes forget to step back and just appreciate the whole thing, the whole load of it. So those are my two suggestions, that focusing question that I think will really help you on your journey. I know they've been hugely beneficial on mine. So we will wrap up the podcast at that point. Again, if you would like to follow me on social media, I'd love to connect with you and see what you're up to. My social media is at gmarkphillips. That's Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. The only anomaly is my Facebook page, and that is at gmarkphillipsfan, F-A-N. So we'll wrap it up there. Until next time, all the best, health, wealth, and success. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.